Okay, so hello everyone, and welcome back to our yearly Back to School series for parents on Generation Z, sponsored by Jacob's Ladder Therapies. For those of you who are new to us, Jacob's Ladder Therapy specializes in individual and family therapy for teens, tweens, young adults, and parents suffering with anxiety, depression, mood and personality disorders, trauma, family issues, including marital distress, communication problems, separation, divorce, life transitions, and addiction. Our services are finally back in person at our office in the San Jose, Los Gatos area, and are also delivered via telehealth video sessions. And newly, we offer walk and talk sessions in the North, South, and East Bay. We also recently restarted our in-person high school girls group called Gold Crown. And the next cohort will be starting in January 2022. So email us if you are interested in enrolling your teen girl in that group. We have a diverse group of licensed clinicians and are able to deliver services in English, Spanish, and Mandarin. And you can view all of our clinicians and their bios on our website at www.jacobsladdertherapies.com. We are also extremely passionate about providing free, informative sessions to the community at large. Today, we have a special treat in being able to hear from one of our community partners. Miatta Watkins is a licensed marriage and family therapist, wife of 24 years, and a mother of 2 transitional age youth, an emerging adult who is a junior in college, and a teen who is a junior in high school. Miatta has been licensed for 15 years and has been working with teens and young adults for over 30 years. Miatta's favorite place to be is with her family at home or traveling. She enjoys entertaining friends at her home, walking, listening to podcasts, reading, and serving her church. As a reminder, this session is strictly informative and should not take the place of therapeutic services by a licensed professional. If you or your family member is experiencing a medical or psychiatric emergency, please call 911 or go to your nearest emergency room. If you feel you or your family member could benefit from therapeutic services, please contact us right away. We provide free assessments to help determine the right level of care for your child, even if it's not with us. And I will put the link to self-schedule an assessment in the comment section. This evening, Miatta will talk to us about the difference between helping versus enabling with transitional age youth in the midst of this pandemic and beyond. We are delighted to have an audience of parents and caregivers joining us via Zoom, Facebook, and YouTube. As this is your chance to ask an expert, please post your questions in the comment section and we will address them at the end of the presentation. If you miss any parts of this or want to recap, you can view it in the Jacob's Ladder Therapies Facebook page and YouTube channel, and I will post both of those links in the comment section as well. So without further ado, please welcome Miatta Watkins.
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Welcome. Thanks to Mitra for that introduction. Today, like Demetra said, I thought I'd focus the discussion, our presentation on helping versus enabling. Okay. Helping versus enabling. When we think about the whole idea of helping versus enabling, some thoughts around that is that, this whole thing came from, from working with family members that were dealing with primarily substance use, right? But then as time went on, realized that the same issues exist. The same things come up with family members that are also dealing with loved ones that might be dealing with depression or some kind of mental illness, some health issues. So this helping versus enabling thing is not just limited to family with that are dealing with substance use within their system. Okay, it can happen to quote unquote even the normal, if there's any such thing, families. You can find yourself in a position of, struggling whether this is helping or is this enabling. Okay, so we're going to try to tease that apart a little bit. So the way I think this is going to go is I want to have about 30-40 minutes of discussion, and then about 15 minutes of questions and answer. Okay. All right. So helping versus enabling, right? And, hopefully when you leave here today, you will be able to figure out how to find a healthy balance, right? How you ought to take a step back and go, am I helping or am I enabling? Okay. So hopefully when you leave here today, you'll be able to do that. Okay. So a family, next slide, please, Demetra. Okay, so what is helping? What is enabling? So enabling, like a definition says on here, is doing something for someone who can and should be doing it for themselves. Okay, so it can be any someone. It can be a toddler. It can be oh, sorry guys, I have my phone is in here and going off. It can be a toddler that you're training to do something, and or it can be a older a young adult, right? So enabling is doing something for someone who can and should be doing it for themselves. Okay. Helping is supporting choices leading to recovery and wellness. Okay. And we'll talk about that in a little bit also. Okay. So let me give an example here. Let's say you have a young adult that is in college, right? And they increasingly start struggling with anxiety and depression, and their functioning, starts to deteriorate. They're having a hard time doing things on their own, right? You as a parent may come in and help to provide them with support, even help them with treatment, right? Help them find treatment, okay? But let's say they're in treatment and they're starting to feel better, and in the past, the expectation has been that, they do things around the house, they were able to do things around the house, let's say that, right? But then they're struggling with depression, struggling with anxiety, and they're not able to contribute to the household as much, right? So you step in, you're providing support, you're even taking on some extra things that they're used to do, right? You're doing more things for them around the house, right? Or more things to support them, okay? And then they go to treatment and they start to feel a little better. And they're even able to go out with their friends and have a good time, right? And you find yourself in a position where, as a parent, you're feeling a little bit resentful because when you ask them to do things around the house, they said they're feeling stressed, or they're saying things like, every time you put pressure on me, it makes it worse. So you start to feel a little bit resentful, right? So, and you start walking around on eggshells around them, okay? So you don't want to, of course, we don't want to make our loved ones, our young adults, or our children struggle, right? So we start walking on eggshells around them. We continue to do more, right? So you find yourself in a position where it's like, ooh, this is not working out, right? So why does that happen? And we'll explain a little bit about that when we talk about family as a system. Next slide, Demetra. Okay. On family as a system. Is that, we have that slide? Okay, so how do we get here, right? So, well, you know what? I think you're right. Let's go back to the let me keep this in order. Let's go back to the next Let's do it in order, Demetra. I'm sorry. All right, next slide. What is the next slide? after this one. Oh, it is this one. Okay. So the family is a system. Okay. So, and what we know about system is that systems like balance, right? Systems like homeostasis. Okay. So, say for example, you're walking, your whole body works together to make the body function well, right? So you're walking and you stump your big toe, right? So what are you going to do? So it's going to hurt for a little bit. You're going to feel like, oh, you're going to have a hard time walking, and you may favor one leg over the other as you walk, right? Because you're out of balance, right? So you're trying to do things to bring your, to bring your body back into balance, so you can be able to walk and feel okay, right? So, but it's not correct, right? Okay, you need to attend to the broken toe or the injured toe, right? So when our system is off balance, and a family is a system, meaning all the different parts in the family work together to make the family function well, right? Okay, like all the different parts in my body work together to make my body function well. If I stump my big toe, that's going to create some problems for me, right? As far as, how I'm going to walk. Okay. So that being said, right, if one part of the family is off balance, right, it throws the whole family system off. So what are some of the things that can threaten the integrity or the safety of the family? Things like, when somebody has a physical illness, when somebody has a mental illness, when somebody's family system is struggling with substance use, all those things can tend to throw off the balance of the family system, right? So we start engaging in behaviors, right, to keep the balance in the family system, to maintain the integrity and the safety of the system. That's our primary goal, right? We want to maintain the integrity and the safety of the system. Okay, so we start engaging in these behaviors that in the beginning, like the example I gave, right? In the beginning, you're stepping to help your young adult manage your depression and anxiety, right? And there's nothing wrong with that because they're having a hard time, right? But as they get better, you still find yourself in that role, right? In the beginning, it was helpful for the family system because, okay, it took a little bit of pressure on them. It may have put a little bit of pressure on you, but it was, the system was working, right? And now they're kind of up to where they can maybe function a little bit more, right? There's the expectation to have more, for them to do more, and they're still not doing more, right? So this system, so now we find the system is unbalanced, right? Because we've gone from, you doing way more, so somebody in the family system doing way more, taking on way more responsibility, way more, they're doing way more to keep the system balanced. So it's not healthy, right? It's really, really unbalanced. So you went to from being roughly balanced to unbalanced, right? Okay, it's ineffective. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. So we can see how this initial helping and appropriate supporting behavior, right, can turn into something that feels like what we're going to talk about, enabling. Okay. All right. So let's look at the difference between helping and enabling. Okay. So enabling is the removal of the natural consequences for someone else's behavior. Okay. So what do I mean by that? Okay. Let's say, your young adult is expected to, set the alarm and wake up when the alarm rings to get ready for school, or to get to school on time, or catch the bus, or get, drive to school on time or whatever, right? So let's say, they're not doing that, right? And you step in and you start taking the responsibility of waking them up, right? Okay, because why? Because you don't want them to be late for school. If they're late for school, they're gonna, It's not going to be good. There are consequences for being late for school. So you step in and start waking them up instead of, making sure they take on that responsibility. Okay. So you remove the natural consequences. You're late for school. There are consequences to that of their behavior, right? Um, and we can see how in a alcoholic family system, what this can look like, right? A family system where somebody is struggling with substance use, it's a better way to put it, right? You can see how the person comes home um, under the influence, get up in the morning, they're hungover, then the partner, and one partner will call in for calling to work, make excuses for them. Oh, they're not feeling well, they're sick. All right. You're removing the natural consequences of that person's behavior. Okay. So the next one is fixing problems for others in a way that interferes with their growth and their responsibility. When we think about our young adults, right, we want them to be able to grow and basically become responsible and eventually have a healthy launching into adulthood, right? But when we engage in enabling behavior, we come in and we fix their problems, right? We want to fix it for them, and that takes away opportunity for them to grow and for them to be responsible, right? You can probably think about many examples. Experience can probably think about many examples. So we step in and try to fix it for our young adults, right? The thing that happens with that is that they start feeling it infantilizes them, right? Whether that means it makes them feel like you can do it, so I'm going to do it, right? And then they're not growing. And then if it's working for them, if it's working for me, if every time I'm having a hard time, you step in to fix it, and why should I change, right? We'll continue to engage in behaviors that are working for us, okay? Picking up the slack automatically without evaluations of their abilities. So what do I mean by that, right? Okay, jumping right away to pick up the slack for them without stepping back and saying, are they able to do that, right? Are they able to do that? And really seriously asking yourself that question, right? And if they are able to do that, what's getting in the way of them doing that? Am I getting in the way of them doing that? Or other choices they're making get in the way of them doing that? Or, maybe their mental health is getting in the way of them doing that, right? And it's not like they can totally do it, but maybe they can only do take on some responsibility, right? We start coming to pick up the slack without evaluating the situation, whether they're able to do it or not, okay, their abilities, okay? What happens is that, you are over functioning and they are under functioning when you're enabling. You're over functioning when we find ourselves in an enabling role. We're over functioning and they're under functioning, okay? Because we start doing for them what they are capable and able to do for themselves, okay? So, how might you feel if if you're in a position of enabling somebody, right? If you're doing that all the time, you might feel resentful, right? You might feel stressed because you're doing too much, okay? More than, you're doing your share and then some, right? You might feel burnt out, you might even feel trapped, right? You might start thinking, if I start to put my foot down, that may make it worse. If I try to put my foot down, they may fall and they may hurt. And who wants to see their loved one hurt, right? We don't want that, right? Okay. But we start feeling trapped, like I don't have a choice, right? You start feeling responsible that if you don't do something, everything will fall apart, right? You start feeling like, if I don't do something, everything will fall apart. Okay. So why do we find ourselves in this position? Because the bottom line is the idea of letting our loved ones, face consequences that may be painful. It really seems counterintuitive, doesn't it? Right? It seems really counterintuitive, because we want to prevent them from experiencing pain and hurt, right? You know, and so it feels really counterintuitive. But we know though the experience of pain and health can lead to growth, right? Okay, but it really feels counterintuitive to just to kind of be, step back and watch them go through hard times. Okay, all right. So let's go to helping. The next line, I think. Helper. So a helper does for themselves. Does so when a helper does for them what they can do for themselves. Okay. So if you're helping you in a position of you know what, my loved one, my child, my young adult cannot do this for themselves right now. Okay. Meaning you're not doing something that anything that the other person can actually do for themselves, right? Okay. So if they can do it for themselves, you're not doing it. Okay. Uh, you're teaching you're teaching coping skills. You're modeling how to do things, right? Instead of, doing it for them all the time. You're, you know, you're teaching them instead of stepping in, and doing it, right? So, and you're modeling through your behavior. You're teaching them ways to manage difficulties, challenges when they arise, right? And this is a big one. A helper, when you're a helper, you allow the helper allows natural consequences, right? You know, you know, we make choices and choices have consequences. And as parents, oh my goodness, right? I have a 16-year-old and I have a 20-year-old, right? I don't want to see them hurt, right? But I know there are choices to make, and those choices have consequences, right? The helper provides validation. What is that? We'll talk a little bit about that in a little bit. Okay. When you're helping, you have set rules and boundaries, right? The helper lives by values, rules, and boundaries. Okay. That's what happens when you're helping. That's what a helper looks like. Okay. And so how might you feel if you're in this position, right? You'll feel anxious. It's the bottom line, right? Because it is anxiety provoking because you're putting them out there to like you're in an effective way you're put going hands off, right? So that they can grow, right? But that can be anxiety provoking, right? This is why it's so important for a helper to take care of themselves, right? Because you're stepping back, it may create some uncomfortable feelings for you, right? So you step back and you do what you need to do to take care of yourself, so you can be able to tolerate that discomfort that may come with that. Okay, so what do I mean when I say the helper provides validation? All right. So say let's go back to the example of the young adult that came home from college with anxiety and depression, right? They come to treatment, they're doing well, the expectation is that, as they improve in their functioning, for them to start taking on more responsibility around the house. Responsibility, we're assuming that you've had these rules, and if you've had boundaries, right? They know what chores they're supposed to do. They know how to do the chores, right? By the way, we can't just expect them to turn 18 and all of a sudden be responsible if we haven't taught them how, right? I see that with parents all the time, right? I was just talking to a parent the other day. Well, she doesn't make her bed. She doesn't clean her room. She's not taking care of her animals. Has that been the expectations in the past? No. Well, it's really unfair to expect it now that she's 20, right? When that hasn't been expected, you expect her to start doing it. It's not as fair to expect it. It's unfair to expect her to start doing it when that hasn't been the expectation, right? So what do? Right? You go back and maybe you need to, teach your 20-year-old how to clean their own room, how to do their laundry, right? And have boundaries around, okay, these are the days that you're going to do your laundry. These are the days that I would like for you to clean. You need to clean your room. This is what a clean room looks like, right? So let's assume all of that is happening with this young adult, right? They know what they're supposed to do. There are clear expectations, clear boundaries, right? And they're getting better. And, the parent is feeling like you need to start doing more, right? And because they're able to go out with their friends and have fun and come back, and they come back to go right to the room. Parents put demands on them, or you're making it worse. Parents start walking on eggshells around them, right? So what might validation look like? So when the parents ask them to be, "Oh, just too much, I can do it," right? So validation might look like this, right? Yes, right? I understand, you're feeling like these demands are a lot, right? And uh, I want you to be able to contribute to the household like you used to. What can we do to help you get there? Right? So validation is acknowledging that what the person is thinking, feeling, or doing makes sense. Ooh, right? So sometimes when I see that, parents go, "What? What do you mean?" Yeah, that's what validation is, right? So I'm not saying validation is agreeing. I'm not saying validation is condoning. All I'm saying is validation is acknowledging, right? Yeah, I get it. You feel like, I'm putting a lot on you, right? Now that you're getting better, because that is the natural um, expectation. You're getting better. Maybe, you can do more around the house, right? You're getting better, increased functioning, maybe come increased responsibilities, right? And that scares young adults, by the way. That's one of the reasons why they're like, they worry about getting better, right? Because if I get better, things they're going to put more on my plate, right? If I show them I'm getting better, they're going to put more on my plate, right? And that's a natural, you know, that's typical. There's nothing wrong with feeling that way, right? Because that's the expectation. Okay, so so they feel you're not saying, you know um I agree with you not wanting to do a lot. I agree with you not wanting to do more, right? Or you're saying, yeah, I get it, that you're feeling the pressure to do more, right? And how can we help you to change, to get where you need to be, okay, to get where you know you are, to get to the point where you're capable of doing what we all of us know you're able to do, right? So validation is not agreement. Validation is acknowledgement, right? you know you may not even agree with how they're feeling. You may not agree with what they're thinking. You may not agree with what they're doing, right? But if we can see that everything has a cost, something doesn't come from nothing, right? Because everything has a cost, we can go, oh, yeah, based on what's going on, I can see how you may think, feel, or do that, right? I don't agree with, I may not agree with what you're thinking, feeling, or doing, but I can see that, right? Now, if that is, if the behavior is ineffective, let's figure out a way to change it, right? Okay. All right. So let's go to the next slide. So how do we move from enabling to helping? Okay. Like I said before, self-care. I like to give the example they give of the oxygen mask, right? Analogy in a plane. That when you're in a plane, they tell you, when they're going through a little tutorial, before you help a child, put your oxygen mask on first, then you put theirs on, right? Okay. Because moving from the position of enabling to helping, it's going to take a lot of work, because like I said, right, if I'm in a position where something is happening and it's working for me, and I'm not expected to change, I'm not going to change, right? So I'm going to keep doing that. If you step in and ask me to change, right, I'm going to push back a little bit, right? So we can expect our young adults, we can expect our teens to push back, right? It's not the end of the world if they push back, right? Um, so thing is, how we're going to take care of ourselves so we can be able to stand firm and be effective as they're pushing back, right? So take care of yourself. Get your own support from somewhere else. Talk to a friend, maybe seek your own therapy, seek your own support, so you can be able to provide the help the need, right? Lifeguard training, right? I heard that one of the people are training, when they're training lifeguards, a lot of the training is around to how to train them to not drown, because when they go into the water to rescue a drowning victim, right? The person just holding on to them, trying to pull them down, right? So a lot of training is how do you not drown as you're rescuing this other person, right? Or helping them. Okay. So once again, take care of yourself. Uh-huh. Have a plan, right? Like I said, if that hasn't been the expectation for them to do it, right? Maybe it be the expectation in your head. They'll turn 18, all of a sudden they're going to start doing their laundry, grocery shopping, making their own doctor's appointment when they turn 18. Right? Well, you've been doing all of those things, right? We've been doing all of those things. So we can just expect it at 18, right? So you want to have a plan. You want to kind of go, okay, this is something I want to eventually turn over to you. Calling your doctor, right? Okay. Let me show you how to do it. Okay. You pick up the phone. You want to write a script. Call, say, hey, my name is so-and-so. This is my phone number. I'm calling to make an appointment for XYZ, right? Or you may want to sit with them the first few times as they call to make a doctor's appointment. If they haven't done the laundry, go, okay, let me teach you how to do your laundry, right? Okay, so you're communicating, you have a plan, right? The expectations are clear, right? You're teaching them, okay? And then, you also want to communicate what's going to happen if the expectations or the boundaries are crossed, right? That's part of it too. How do you move from enabling to helping? Well, when boundaries are crossed, there are things that need to happen, okay? Because we know having healthy boundaries keep the system functioning well, right? Okay, so when we engage in behaviors or do things or say things that disrupt that cross boundaries, that disrupts the functioning of the system. Okay. Then as parents, guardians of people in young, the executive functioning system in the home, which are parents and people in charge in the home, right? You want to take a step back and ask, when you're tempted to do something, step in, especially in the beginning, right? As you're moving from enabling to helping, you want to take a step back and ask, are they able to do that for themselves? You may literally have to do that many times. Are they able to do that for themselves? Am I enabling? Okay. Is what I'm doing protecting this person? Or is it helping them? Am I protecting them from some kind of consequences? Right? And I see this a lot in a family system where one member of the system is struggling with substance use disorder, right? Step in and do things to protect them, right? Oh, I need to go to school. I don't have gas in my car. When you just give them gas money the other day and they use it to buy drugs, right? Am I helping? Or am I stepping in to, take over and make sure ensure that they don't feel the consequences of their choices, right? Another, when you step back, another thing you want to ask too is, am I clear about what I'm asking, right? Am I really clear about what I'm asking, right? And, so that's enough as far as helping, taking a step back. I mean, another thing you want to do too is validate, right? You want to validate, like we talked about before, right? To move from enabling to helping, validation has to be part of it. Validate that, validate their efforts, validate their feelings, right? Yeah, you can even validate that. Yeah, I get it. Like you want to sleep out there. It makes sense to me. I want to sleep all day too, right? If I'm having a hard time, and let's figure out how we can move you forward, right? Okay, so I know for me, the friends and the people I call when I'm having a hard time are the ones that can communicate to me that they get me, right? And they are the ones, when they give me advice, they are the ones that I'm more likely to listen to because I know they get me, right? So if we want change, right, we have to validate, okay? Avoid the either or trap, right? Either they can do it or they can't do it. Well, that is so black and white, right? Maybe they can do some of it. They may not be able to do all of it right now, but they can do some of it right now, right? And we can work our way up, right? The the healthier they feel, the the more they're able to cope and learn coping skills and things like that, the more we expect, right? So it's not I like it's not expecting them to, if they can't do it right now, all of it right now, right? If you can get up in the morning and brush your teeth, take your own meds, make your bed, make their breakfast, all those things, whatever the expectations they might have. If they can do all these things, then you know then it's not then it can't do anything, right? Well, in the beginning, when maybe your young adult or your teen is struggling with major depression, right? Maybe the expectation is just to make sure they get up and brush their teeth, right? And as they go through treatment, we can add more. Let's make sure that you can brush your teeth. You can, maybe take a shower 3 days a week. You can, whatever the expectations are, but you want to you don't want to do either or all or nothing, right? Let's see what let's add more on as healing happens, okay? Encourage your loved ones to go to treatment. If they're going to treatment, right, encourage them to go, right? Sometimes it can feel like, oh, I'm so tired. I don't want to go to treatment after school, right? I don't want to go. I just came from school. I don't want to go to therapy. I don't want to do another Zoom meeting, right? Part of moving from enabling to helping is encourage them to do their treatment, okay? Encourage them to do their treatment. Allow natural consequences, okay? If they don't set the alarm, there are consequences for that, right? And yeah, sometimes, you go, oh, well, sometimes I pay for those natural consequences too, right? Especially if let's say they're going to a private school, right? And, it's like, oh, if they don't make it to school, if they're late, I'm paying a lot of money for them to go to school, right? You kind of go, right? Or, if they don't pass their classes, if they keep being late and they flunk their class, they're going to be miserable around their house, and I have to live with that. Yeah, right. And we need to be able to allow the natural consequences, so eventually they can be able to learn and grow. Okay. Another thing too is don't give into complaints and demands. Right. Sometimes, like I said, we persist in behaviors that are working for us, right? So when you expect change, there's going to be complaining, there's going to be demands. Try not to give into the complaints and the demands, okay? And and I can't emphasize enough you want to discuss rules and consequences and things like that ahead of time. Mostly in calm times, right? Especially in calm times. Not, when everybody's okay, you can say, okay, things got to change, Ryan. Let's sit down and talk about the rules and the expectations and the consequences. Okay. This is not, you don't want to have this kind of discussion when you're in the midst of an argument. By the way, you're going to start doing X, Y, Z. If you don't do it, X, Y, Z will happen. No. When things are calm, you discuss house rules and consequences. Okay. All right, let's go to, I think it's our last slide. So what are some things to remember? Okay, remember the goal is to support your young adult or your teen and to build resilience. Okay, and to help them develop effective ways to cope, right? Because we want them to eventually be able to launch in a healthy way, right? Okay. Remember also that, your young adults issues are their issues for them to solve, right? It's not for you to solve, it's for them. Okay. And I like to think about it 3 C's. You didn't cause it, you can't cure it, you can't control it. Okay. So give them the space to do that. Okay. Um, you know, uh, you know, don't let they can it's okay, they can face uncomfortable situation. It's going to create anxiety for us, and it's okay. Okay. um Always plan to increase the expectations as the capabilities increase. Remember that. Okay. uh, don't try to speak up on their behalf if they can speak up for themselves. That's another thing you want to remember too. Okay, as parents, we want to step in and tell you what's going on. Well, they can say what's going on. Okay, so that's another thing to remember when you're going from enabling to helping, right? And if you have the house rules and expectations, enforce them consistently. Okay, because enforcing them inconsistently, even if they're young adults and they're living at home, there still has to be house rules and expectations. If they're living at home, they have to be able to contribute to the home. Okay, some way, shape, and form. Okay, okay. All right. Let's see here. Yeah, and also when you start feeling, pay attention to what's going on inside of you. When you start feeling resentful, you start feeling burnt out, you start feeling unappreciated, take a step back and go, am I doing more than I should? Right? Am I engaging in enabling behavior? Okay, so I hope this is helpful, but I want to leave some time for us to do some questions and answers.
Yes, thank you, Miatta. I do have quite a few questions. We'll see how many we can get to. One thing I did want to point out is that you did mention about helping write a script for making doctor appointments. I just wanted to kind of point that out. That was a really good kind of starting point for parents to kind of get a better idea of exactly how to implement these strategies. One of the questions was, it's very expensive to live in this area, specifically in the Bay Area. How and when do I encourage them to move out?
It's so expensive to live in the Bay Area, right? It is so expensive to live in the Bay Area. I wish I had a perfect answer for that, right? However, right, if they're able to work, right, you want to encourage them to work and start saving money, right? Teach them how to save money. Okay, you didn't get to live in the Bay Area by living right without a budget or a plan. So if they're wanting, if you want them, you guys are talking about them moving out, right? Teach them how to save money. That's the best way to do that, right? Talk to them about they can start building relationships with people and talking to friends that may want to room with them, right? Healthy relationships. This is the time you're hanging out with your buddies and all you guys are doing is going out and partying on the weekend. Maybe you might want to find a different friend group, right? So you guys can, how can we move out and start living our own, right? So I would say first thing, if they can work, encourage them to work, encourage them to start saving money. That's the first place you start, right?
Great. Another question is, so you talked about natural consequences and kind of the price that the parents pay for that. There was a follow-up to that, and it said, but what if I don't interfere and they fail out of college and I've spent all this money? Like, how do I reconcile that?
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. And that's the thing. So there's a skill in in DBT called radical acceptance, right? Dialectical behavior therapy. Radical acceptance is one of those things you go, you know, you did everything you could to make sure to get them on the track for them to succeed, right? And at the end of the day, they're going to make their choice. Is it going to hurt if they feel that? Yeah. But let's say, and I've seen this all the time. I've seen that young adults make it through, they're staying at home, they made it through college, they graduated from college, right? But they can't find a job. Why? Because parents stepped in every time, help them do homework, make sure they got their assignments turned in on time. And then, okay, so now you got the degree, now what? Right?
Right.
They're sitting at home and having a hard time because they didn't learn those skills to manage difficult times, right? They didn't learn, okay, so what happens when I fail a class, right? That doesn't feel too good. Right? I got an F in college, right? It took me my whole college career to make up for that F. So because I knew I wanted to go to grad school.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So if somebody has stepped in and fixed that for me, right? I didn't have anybody step in to fix it for me. It was like, my mom was like, you're gonna go to college, you gotta figure out again, right? But right? So
yeah.
As parents, we have to think long-term and, the short-term pain, it hurts in the beginning. The short-term pain doesn't feel good, right? But we got to think long-term.
Okay. Somebody mentioned just kind of the hashtag over-functioning versus under-functioning. I think that was like a really good point. Wasn't really a question. It was just, they've liked that, that comment. Another question was, how do I put my foot down when I haven't given them boundaries or chores in the past? Yeah. What chore do I start with first?
Okay, so you want to, this is scaffolding, right? You want to start with little, right? Depending on, you can't, like I said, you can't just go, okay, you know what? You're going to start doing your laundry. You're going to start cooking. You're going to start vacuuming, right? I would start with something with their own space, somewhere to care about, right? Okay. Mm-hmm. Can you at least, when you get up every morning, at least tidy your desk, your dresser, and pick up the clothes from on the floor? I'm not even asking you to make your bed, right? Mm-hmm. Start with something like that, right? And say, eventually, though, the goal is for you to clean your entire room. So, but for now, we're going to start with these areas, okay? Then we're going to get to, okay, you got to start making your bed and clearing your desk and clearing your dresser and cleaning your floor and vacuuming your floor, right? Yeah. Okay. So add the point with that is that you add the expectations on with increased difficulty, right? You can't expect everything all at once, right? And you want to have a discussion, really own it, parent, right? Own it, go, you know what? I haven't expected any. That has not been, that's not okay. It's been really unfair to you, and it's been unfair to me. So let's change something. So own it also.
Okay. What happens when they get worse, when I give them responsibilities?
Yeah. When they get worse, when you give them responsibilities, right? What happens is you start walking on eggshells around them. That's what happens, right? You start walking on eggshells around them, right? So what I'm, because you're thinking, I don't want them to get worse, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So what do you do? Okay. So you don't step in and try to fix it right away. You sit them down and have a conversation, It seems like every time I ask you to do something, or I ask you to do something, it seems like you get worse. What are you able to do? And how can we help you get to where we know you need to be? I have a conversation with them, right? Because every time I expect more, you start feeling worse. So what are you able to do? And how can we help you get there?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think that's really good. You talk about that this is not kind of like trickery, everything has got to be very transparent and We're not trying to manipulate them into doing something. We're trying to encourage them by being honest and putting everything on the table.
Right, exactly. Exactly.
Another question is, my young adult is 30 years old. Is it too late to try something new? I'm tired and it's just easier to let it go.
I feel you. Yeah, that must be really, really hard, right? I'm assuming the young adult is 30 and living at home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I the question didn't say that, but I assume that that's.
Yeah. Is it too late? No, it's not too late. And you can use some of the same techniques, right? Start with, okay, you're 30. Can you make, from a 30, maybe make dinner at least once a week. Can I expect that from you? Because I really want you to be able to eventually, do this on your own, right? Yeah. No, it's not too late. You can't just let it be, right? You're not going to be around forever. Right? The idea is for them to be able to launch and do this on their own, right? We want to teach them responsibility and coping skills, right? If I do things and it doesn't work out, I have the skills to manage myself, right? That's what we're trying to teach them, right?
Okay. We're running out of time, but I'm gonna ask one last question. You mentioned starting little by little. So like not doing the kind of all or nothing. And the question was, do I reward for some, even if I know they could do it all?
Well, if the goal is to get them to do it all, right? So if they do some, give them some reward. I don't see anything wrong with that. And the reward doesn't have to be big. The reward can be the reward can equal the task, right? Just if they're doing some, you don't have to give them add $25 to the allowance. Maybe, okay, you're doing some, maybe I'll give you, take you out to buy Starbucks today, right? Okay. The reward should, equal the task, right? And then as they start doing more, you start adding more, right? Think about work. That's what happens at work, right? The longer we're there, we start doing more, we expect more, right? Hey, you got to give me a raise. You got to right?
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Miatta. I would love to thank the ever knowledgeable Miatta Watkins for all of the important knowledge that you dropped on us tonight. I'm thankful to have community partners in the community that are willing to take time out to be real with us about our kids. If you're interested in contacting Miatta for additional speaking engagements, you can email us at info@jacobsladdertherapies.com and we will pass on the information. I would like to thank all of you who joined us today. And if you missed any parts of this or want to recap, again, you can view it in our Jacobs Ladder Therapies Facebook or YouTube channel, and the links have already been posted in the comment section. If you feel you or your family member could benefit from therapeutic services, please contact us. We do provide free assessments to help determine the right level of care for your family member, even if it's not with us. And yes, we are accepting new clients for both in-person and video therapy sessions. And I have put the link to self-schedule and assessment in the comment section. You can view all of our clinicians on our website at www.jacobsladdertherapies.com. Thank you again, Miatta. And to all of our viewers, please stay safe, be well, and good night.
All right. Thank you, guys. Hang in there. This is not an easy process. They don't come with manuals.
Definitely not.
All right.
Okay.
Good night, guys.
Good night. Thank you.